All right, number 16 is an interesting one and was a hard one for a lot of teams, and thus a lot of individuals. Here we have a local supply curve. And we don't really know what the local demand curve is. Actually, we only have really 2 points on the supply curve. Whatever P from 1986 on, we know that that quantity supplied was zero. They stopped pumping because the water ran out in 1985. So whatever that price was, they were pumping at zero. And that was true from 86 all the way to 2005. But in 2005, the price of water doubled. Let's suppose it didn't change at all between 86 and 2005. And they opened that well up again. And that produced some quantity. Q 2005. So we have 2 points on a supply curve. We could connect those dots just as an approximation. We don't really have the intermediate data, but that's what we know about the local supply curve from these events. Well, markets cannot reach equilibrium because there is a persistent shortage of water. Well, nothing in the problem tells us that there was a persistent shortage of water. They used to pump it themselves, but they found that it was cheaper to buy it from other places after their well went dry in 85. That doesn't say there's a shortage. They just bought it elsewhere. So A is not true. The supply of water is perfectly inelastic because it is a finite resource. That may be true at some global level, but in this terms, this local supply, we have 2 points on the local supply curve, and they're not. It doesn't suggest a vertical supply curve, a perfectly inelastic supply curve. So B is out. Higher water prices can reduce quantity demanded. Well, we know that's true, right? Presumably, there's some downward sloping demand curve. Prices go up, quantity demanded go down. That's fine, but cannot increase quantity supplied. Well, what do you mean cannot increase quantity supplied? We just have data saying that quantity supplied went from zero to some positive amount. So C, the first part is promising, but the second part is just wrong. No, no, no. No, no, and no. And finally, water production is characterized by increasing opportunity costs. And we can infer this from this information, right? At a low price, it didn't make sense to produce, but at higher prices, that presumably justified the cost of drilling down a new well and operating again. So at low prices, it wouldn't make sense to do that. At high prices, it would, and that suggests increasing opportunity cost. D is the correct answer.